Just think of it as the rough draft of the podcast world. This is the Newbie Writers Podcast with your hosts, Damian Both and Catherine Bramkamp.
Hey, this is episode 154. We've got absolutely nothing this week. This is amazing. I love it when you try and coordinate guests and it just doesn't happen, but that's okay.
Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's hard to get people to enthusiastically embrace something that's essentially volunteer. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of this before, where I see it on Google with people trying to set up podcasts and that sort of thing. I think one person had responded to someone looking for a guest, going, "So how much would I be paid?"
I'm sorry. Was that a serious question?
I think we missed that memo.
I definitely missed that memo. I had somebody ask me that as well when I was talking about our podcast and how much I love doing it and connecting with new writers and helping them and all of the pieces that make this so fun to do. And they asked a similar question. It's like, well, how much do you make? And I said, I love helping writers and getting excited about our guests.
But that's an important point, though, for anything, really. To keep a vested interest in it, you'd have to be willing to do something without being paid for it.
Yep. And I think writers have a propensity for that because it's such a, as you might say, has such a long sales cycle that you have a book that you finally written and then you send it off, and if you don't publish it yourself, there could be another year lag, like with Future Girls with me. And so by the time the book comes around, I'm on to the third book, and you have to be very self-motivated and love the work. And I think that's any writer will tell you that you have to love the work. Otherwise you simply won't do it. You might as well lay bricks. It'll give you much more satisfaction and a lot more per hour.
Well, yeah, you get $1.20 per brick here. So imagine building a house. Now, well, on that though, how do you combat if you've been plugging away at something, and because I was having this conversation with someone last week or the middle of this week that they're a published author, they're well established, they do good work, but then they see on Amazon someone is at the top of that genre, Amazon bestseller, and the book reads as if a 4-year-old's written it. It's like the 50 Shades of Grey type thing. But instead of people giving reviews of, "Oh my God, this was a train wreck, I had to find out why," people are going...
And I have done that. I've read books just to find out why. What's a train wreck?
I had a look at it. I was sent the link. I had a look at it. And what I found funny was the front of the book, the actual cover, actually looked like a steaming turd. But anyway, that was when I pointed that out to the person, they're like, "Oh, I didn't notice that." But, whoops.
My bad.
But all the reviews were like, "This is an amazing book." And so well written and blah, blah, blah. All that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Only one, I think, out of the 50, 60 reviews was, "This is shit." And so the conversation we had was, she was saying, "Why do I bother then?" Because if I'm plugging away, I thought it was quite a poignant thing. Why do I plug away with my work and throwing everything I have in it? And sure, I make some sales, but I'm not, the top of the tree. And how can someone that's clearly pumped this out in like a weekend end up with top of Amazon?
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because I can address that. One of my clients is a romance writer, and so I have been, and I'm helping her with her social media and with her just the volume of what she does to make sure that her books are selling and that are on the top of those Amazon lists. And it's not, this is the irony, and so this is the message to writers, which is depressing as hell. It's not that her books are brilliant literary fiction. Okay, let me just, I like her. I like working for her, but I don't read romance. The romance writers who are doing extraordinarily well are not writing necessarily great work. I read some of it or I hear some of it, and I think, oh, you need to redo that sentence really right now.
Yeah.
Stop it. But their fans are not that invested in quote good literature. Their fans are invested in a story that helps them escape, and whether or not the grammar is good or not is actually, and ironically, fairly immaterial. So what you're seeing is not just that they're cranking, and these writers are cranking out like 6 to 7 books a year. So they're cranking this stuff out, which then precludes spending a lot of time, crafting the sentences. You're just getting the story out, right?
Yeah.
So they're cranking them out, and they are spending 10% of their time writing the book, creating the product, and they're spending the rest of the 90% of their time promoting it and aggressively getting out there and promoting the book. And that's why it's on those bestseller lists. So what we're seeing now is, to new writers, you're seeing 2 different skill sets, and that's not fair. But there's one skill set where you write a beautiful book, and then there's the other skill set where you have to promote the heck out of it to make it get to those top of those lists and to make enough noise so people notice your book.
But that also costs money, though, doesn't it?
It does.
The person that wrote this crap book, but they don't really seem to be out there. Look, I don't think I could find them on Twitter or that sort of thing. And they don't even respond to stuff. It's just out there. It's weird. It's almost like it's I wouldn't say a scam, but there's some sort of manipulation going on somewhere. I think it's part of as well. You get like an Amazon, I don't know what it's called, Amazon Platinum or something. People can borrow books. You pay like a certain amount per month.
Right.
And I think that also helps boost it up because they'll give a review and it just pushes it up the list. But my sort of argument was, I know that I would rather write something that was good or at least polished and have it out there rather than this guy just pumping absolute crap out.
Yes. And I agree with you. And one of the things about our current systems is that, let's say you churned and you churned and you churned and you wrote a lot of very facile, very, sensationalistic stories. You did it for money. And this is, Louisa May Alcott did it for money. It's not, it's not necessarily a dishonorable thing to do, but what you write is going to last forever. So if you start producing stuff that's not really great, that's going to haunt you. And you have to consider, what is your long-term strategy? What do you want to do with that book? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be in the artistic world? Because if you write crappy, and then say, okay, now I'm a serious writer, man, that crappy stuff is going to just trail after you forever.
But then on the flip side, if you've written a whole series and it's really good, and then you think, this is stupid, I'm investing so much time and money and only getting minimal sales, and this clown can pump out this rubbish and make 300 sales a day off it. Maybe I will write something that's rubbish. Then that can't be good either, can it? Because of the people that you have sold it to that follow you, that enjoy your work, then they're thinking, well, hang on, what's with the slip? And then it comes out, well, I just wanted to make some quick cash. Right.
And they do. And you just say, oh, I don't know what to say about that. It's an interesting challenge, and you have to think about how you want to be in the market and also what your capacity is. I don't think I can write 7 books in a year.
Right.
I probably could do 2 if it was my full-time job and I was actually getting, more money than I am now. So I could spend more time on it, but most of us have other paying jobs. And so 1 book a year is that's a pretty good rate. There are some authors like an Amy Tan who writes 1 book every 7 years.
Yeah, that's more my style. Maybe we should set up a company. We should set up a business that is just crap ebooks.org.
Yeah.
And you can just
I think there's a lot of that. And if you look at and there's a lot of the self-published ebook phenomena, people really are just writing and posting them, writing and posting them, writing and posting them. And that is why there is still a challenge in the self-published world, because there's so much of the churn going forward with self-publication that it makes not legitimate outlets, but more cautious outlets, just the only way that they can organize this onslaught is to say no self-published. We only work with authors who are working through a traditional publisher, because there's no other way for them to screen it, and that does a slight disservice to people who are self-published but have spent a lot of time and energy making their books really fabulous.
But doesn't that'll eventually become the norm, though, won't it? So if you've got a whole lot of crap that's constantly posted up, then sooner or later that people are just going to accept it for what it is, or I think they already are. So then,
yeah, I think they already are.
So then why go to that effort of writing such a polished book?
Because it'll still go to the top. I think you still have authors who grow like a J. Rowling's grew with the Harry Potter series. Her first one was very short, The Philosopher's Stone, very short, very not facile, very interesting. I liked it. I read it, and then was able to grow as an author. You still have well-written books that last, and I think that's one of the questions. Are you making money right now, or are you going to create art that will guarantee you are immortal? And that's a good question to ask. Are you looking to live forever, or are you looking to make a buck?
Well, yeah. I mean, some people do dedicate their time to it and say, well, I want this to be my career. But yes. I don't know. I can't do that. I think there's a thing like any career. You really hit your stride by about year 6 or 7 of doing something as a career. I mean, you think about it, any job you've had or any sort of area of work that you're in, you always start off as that young pup earning absolutely nothing, and then it slowly builds up until like I'm in my 12th year running a business now, so it just you get there now eventually.
You're getting a groove,
and you find out what works for you. I think sometimes there can be that rush, and I see it coming across other people who I can sound like an old man now, these people that come out of university, they expect to be paid at that top level. Whereas if I had someone looking at me going, I've done my studies, I'd like to be paid 55 to 60 grand a year. That's nice. Go somewhere else. Come back to me when you've got some actually real world experience under your belt.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that's the same for the publishing world, I guess.
I think so. I think there's always stories about the graduate student who slaved over his or her manuscript, and they got their MFA, and then the book that they used to get the degree, then they happen to know an uncle who has an agent who's got a publisher, and suddenly they voila, got published. But I think the more stories I read, the more we interview authors, that's not the norm. The norm is you just slog it through and you write book after book after book, or series after series, and then a series hits and people respond to it, and then you suddenly are, quote, an overnight success. And I see writers at conferences just standing there saying, yeah, I've only been doing this for 35 years, so yay me, overnight success.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's one of those things like anything. People, they basically win the lottery.
Yeah. And it's luck. And I used to really hate the comment when writers would say, "Oh, I was really lucky," because I thought, well, that doesn't really help me in a lecture. Can you give me something more specific than luck? But as I see what happens to authors, who gets the contracts, who gets the who gets the $1 million deals, who gets the movie deals, it's not necessarily based on their talent. And it is based on standing around and just being at the right place at the right time. There's nothing you can control about that. You can try to be in all the places, and hopefully those are the ones that are the right place in the right time. But I think that there is an element of luck, which then goes back to, why are you doing this? Are you writing because you're compelled to, because it's what you do, because it's who you are, because that's the only thing that's going to sustain you?
Yeah. And that'd be a good thing for your classes. You should get a little leprechaun doll, put it on the edge of the desk and say, what does this represent? Someone's going to go, luck. And you pick it up and just chuck it in the bin and go, right. It's not going to happen. Buy a lottery ticket. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what my husband says. He says, for all the time that you've put into this, you could just be buying lottery tickets. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support.
Oh, get a job. Yeah.
Yeah, go get a job. We hear that in my house.
Yeah, well, it's such a well-rounded thing. I've noticed as well, there was someone on Google Plus. I unfortunately can't remember your name. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. But they had written book 2. They're writing a series. I think they wanted it to be a trilogy, but book 2 was 200,000 words.
Wow.
And they said, how do I go about getting beta readers? Because I don't want to lump just random followers with the 200,000 word manuscript. My initial response was, I think you should split that up. There's no one says you have to do 3 books. You could have 5 books in a series. There's no set number. There's no publisher going, oh, you've got 4 books. It's like, well, it's a 4-part series. Who cares? And yeah, I think it got a lot of support saying 200,000 words, as much as it might feel like a complete story, is probably a bit too much for someone to try and absorb, especially if it's only book 2.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, I agree. I think, again, excuse me, too long to read is the new acronym, and you can't overwhelm your readers. Even though, and I admire people who can write super long books, because and I like reading them. I just finished a 900-page biography of Vincent van Gogh, and loved it and was really into it. Everything's great. But for a fiction book, for really, for the market right now, okay, now we're going back to what we started out our conversation with. If you have a massive book and people see the size of it, or they see how long it's going to take to read it, that will stand in your way. That will turn them off. And there's little pages on Amazon that'll say, this is 200 pages, this is 900 pages. That's going to make a difference. And people will choose not to download it for the size.
Yeah. And you think about then an audiobook, which is based on, let's say a standard book is about 70,000 words, and that might be 12 or 13 hours, if not more, of spoken word. Imagine 200,000. You're going to get this audiobook that's going to take you literally a month to listen to when it comes to actual, content time. And it's only book 2. So once that's finished, then you're like, cool, now I get to go into book 3. Who knows how long that one's going to be?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've got the the fantasy series with, there's some fantasy series that are huge books, and I frankly, I could never get through the Lord of the Rings, because I would look at the size of the paperbacks, and it would be teeny tiny font with a lot of pages connected up, and I thought, I don't have the time to go to this world.
Yeah. But I read the Lord of the Rings. We had a copy that was just 1 tome, and it was pretty big. But
yeah,
I noticed then, as I guess time has gone on, they split that up into each of the parts or the books in there. And you can get these box sets, and the books themselves are very thin. It might be only 50,000 words or 70,000 words in each book.
Much easier to take it.
Correct. It makes it more manageable.
Yeah.
You can feel like you finished one book, rather than when I first read it, you turn the page and it's book 2. Like, oh, okay. Well, it doesn't really matter. It's just a blank page in between what I'm currently reading. So
and it's endless. There's a book, Mr. Norrell and Dr. Strange, which is a very big, interesting book, but I abandoned it because it was. I kept reading and nothing ever happened. And I'm a good reader and I'm a patient reader, but I've gotten to the point where I look at something and I say, okay, you know what? You need to do something to wrap this up, or to at least keep me going. Your modern reader is used to a quick turnaround. They're used to a lot of action. They're accustomed to dialogue. You have to take that into consideration. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with thinking a little more commercially, because it's also thinking about your reader. So for our listener who asked about, I don't want to burden my beta readers with a 200,000 word manuscript. Well, just translate that. I don't want to burden any of my readers with a 200,000 word manuscript.
Yeah. And I threw it out there and said, well, why don't you, if you split it up, find a point that's around about the 70 to 80,000 mark, find out where you are in your story and try and basically tie it down. Even, I don't know, if you want to end it on a cliffhanger, so be it. Which I got slammed for. People like, don't ever end it on a cliffhanger, blah, blah. It's poor, concept. Like, I don't know. If you're going to bang out all these books and you've got them ready to go, then I can't see a problem with a slight cliffhanger. It makes me want to read the next one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I said, you don't
want to go overboard, and I understand that, because that's that is classically one of the challenges with the center book in a trilogy.
Well, yeah.
Because we saw we saw 2 out of the 3 Lord of the Rings in the theaters when the Lord of the Ring expert was living in our house, because I was not going to see it without access to backstory. So we go to the second one, and we get in the car, and I looked at my son and I said, okay, give me the rest of the story, because there is no way I'm making it through another film.
Come on.
Yeah. And it ended up on a cliffhanger. And
yep.
For me, as a modern viewer and a modern reader, I don't like that. I don't like the setup. So I think that's what the Google Plus comments were saying, is like, no, if you ended up on a cliffhanger, all you're going to do is make us mad. And that is not a good exchange between a reader and a writer.
I think the comparison to Lord of the Rings, though, the problem with that is that's been such an established piece of work for so long that they were guaranteed an audience and one that would make the movie successful. So if you ended that on a cliffhanger, 3/4 of the people in that cinema would have gone, oh, yes, I can't wait for the second one because this happens.
Oh, they know.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought Michael. He had read the books and he knew. Now, to give you another modern one, The Hunger Games, the first one was very well done. And we had an arc, and we had the big finish, and there was some, there's some sense that there's other stuff that were going on, and we're like, okay, we're good with that. The second one didn't quite do it. It was almost like a rehash. Then we have the third one, which a number of people who have read all 3, I've read just the first one, but they've read all 3, and they said, the last book wasn't well done at all. It was almost as if the author had to write that last book because it had to be a trilogy, but wasn't into it, didn't have it all connected up. And so Katniss came off as being very distant and not engaged, and bad things happened to people just because they needed some action and some plot points. You got to think about that. If you're going to do a trilogy, give them stories, give them each a reason, those books and characters a reason to be. Otherwise, don't bother.
Yeah, I didn't like The Hunger Games. I don't know. It just seems stupid. But that's just me. I don't know.
I don't believe you were the target demographic either, so it's okay.
Yeah, but she was running around in those pants. Anyway. Yeah. Why do people set out, though, to give themselves that thing of going, oh, well, I'm going to write a trilogy. I am going to write a 5-part series. Or why not just start with one and see where it takes you?
I think the organic method would be better than setting out to do it. I think if you are, let's say you're in the middle of National Novel Writing Month, and you're writing and you're writing and you're writing, and you realize that in your world that you've created, and it doesn't matter if it's fantasy or science fiction or the here and now, you've created this world, and these other characters pop up or these other ideas come up, and you say, oh, well, that's really good. That's going to muddy what I'm doing now, but that would be a great next book. Then you've got something.
Yeah.
Or you finish with a book, and like when I did the Real Estate Diva series, it's 5 books, because that's how long it took the main character, Allison Little, to finish talking to me.
Right. Is that because she just
And-
wouldn't shut up?
Yeah, and by the 5th book, I had written, we had done the whole relationship arc that runs through those novels, and that we were good. She was fine. She stopped. I didn't have her voice in my head anymore. And so you have to honor that process. But to say I'm going to write a trilogy because it's the trendy thing to do and that's what publishers want, you're going to end up with something that may be less satisfactory.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I couldn't fathom doing 200,000 words and going, cool, book 2. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I averaged about 70 to 75,000. So if I could do 100, 200,000, awesome. That might be the total for all 3 books.
Yeah, that's mental. Anyway, speaking of Nano, this is the 22nd, and apparently you've won already.
Yep, I just put the book in, so I did 54,000 words. So I'm pretty happy.
Now, I remember about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were talking, and you were saying, I'm probably not going to really get into Nano this year because, well, I've got, Future Girls 2's coming out, and I'm going to be spending time focusing on that, and so I will see how we go. So not only have you still jumped into it, you've now beaten it by 8 days.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Remember.
I know you cheated. Well,
totally cheated because I started in October, so I totally cheated, and I'm not sorry because I'm still working on it.
Right. So what are you going to do?
I want to get it up to 70,000 before you even start doing a first decent draft.
So, but what happened though? The whole I'm not really going to do it because I've got to focus on the other book. Did you miss that bit?
I got into it, I think is what it was. Yeah. It's the 3rd in the trilogy. Yeah. We just had a conversation about that. But, and I don't know, this series, the Future Girls series it could go on from here. It depends on, what I get inspired about, because it's not as character driven as it is situationally driven. And then I link people's stories together. And I got into it, and I wanted to create this future world. I set it in 2169. It's called Future Run. I have 2 characters parallel, and they had stuff to say, and things kept coming up, and voila. I know that sounds very easy, but it wasn't. But I did have the inspiration to just say, okay, I've got an hour. I can write about this and actually bang it out.
Oh, all right. So now that you're over the 50,000, you've got 8 days. Are you still just going to keep typing away, or are you going to stop and go, all right, I'm just going to, what did we say that other week? Redraft?
Oh yeah, the redrafting. I'm not going to redraft. I'm going to keep going forward. So like yesterday I was in San Diego, and I was walking around because in San Diego it's not snowing like in the rest of the country. And I brought my iPad and my keyboard, and I was walking around. I thought, that's it. I had an idea. And so I just sat down and I knocked out about 2,000 words because I had an idea. So I try to really honor that. And if I have an opportunity to write, or I write on the airplane, or wherever I am, that I'm still making those notes and still keeping the juice going, the ideas flowing.
So have you added anything really stupid into the next one?
That's a really good idea to do it, Nano, if you're trying to fill in words. I mean, I recommend it to just loosen yourself up. I don't think I did anything really radically stupid in this one.
Well, you had people going to the toilet in the second one. What happened in the third?
The third one, I have a girl running away from a housing situation. She essentially is part of a cult.
Mm-hmm.
And because the whole I call it the mid kingdom, but the whole Midwest in 2169 is cult like, and everybody is either, if you're not going to go along with the program, you got to get out. And so I've just been working on what does her journey look like? How does she get to California and San Francisco, which is where she's going? What happens there? Who does she meet? So I just keep thinking about, all right, well, what does that exchange look like? What does that dialogue look like? And that's how I'm filling in.
So if she's running from something at one point, can you have her stop and go, oh, I've got a stitch. So unhealthy.
I do have her stopping and trying to find food and what was available and trying to find clothing. So I do a little bit of that. Yes.
There's this show. Speaking of clothing, I stumbled on this show on I forget one of the channels that is two guys. It's like a bit like a travel show, and it's a documentary. They carry the cameras. They don't have a film crew, so they have these GoPro type things.
I was going to say GoPros on top of their heads.
Yeah. Well, it's actually on a stick because they start off each show in a different country in Europe, completely naked.
Oh.
So they're on the beach, completely naked with a stick and the camera.
With a stick. Okay.
And they're like, it's getting dark. We need to find some clothes. And so they walk off or they head towards a town. And then they said it's amazing what sort of rubbish you can find. If they cut through a forest, there's sometimes clothes that are blown off, clotheslines or whatever. And they put it on and then they get into town. And then it's their journey of getting to know people. And they have no money. That's the whole point of it. And so they ask for clothes. Can they sleep somewhere? And to see how nice people are. And they went through one place where they basically got nowhere. And they said this whole journey has been so good. We've met a lot of people, created new friends and places to stay. And I can't, like Denmark, I think it might have been. They said, these people are so rude. Yeah. I just thought that was interesting. That's what you should have. You should have your character start off naked. There's a prompt.
I do have her dressed in her brother's clothes. She hacks off her hair so she looks kind of like a boy. And then when she meets up with another main character, that character looks at her and says, "Oh, what did you do to your hair?" And she says, "Well, I wanted to look like a boy." And they said, "Boys don't stick their heads in blenders. What have you done?"
Yeah, and boys don't have boobs.
Yes, exactly.
God. All right. What is happening with Future Girls? Where are we at with that?
Future Girls is going along. I'm pretty happy. I need to. In fact, I just got a notice from the publisher. This is I have to check check all of their pages so everything's right. I just ordered 30 books. It'll retail. This is interesting. It'll retail for $20.80, which I thought was like way more than I would have thought. I was kind of like, whoa, that's expensive. $21.80. So, but we will give away some ebooks on December 5th when it launches, and I'm working on a launch on December 11th. And I was going to do it on December 4th, but then our publisher said, we need to be able to get the books to you, so let's wait on that. Okay, I can switch it to December 11th.
So where do they get that price
exciting.
point? Where does that price come from? That $21.80?
That comes from them. I did not have anything to do with that. They just told me just like a day ago, the price is going to be $21.80. So my cost is half of that, or 55% of that as an author. So I just ordered 30 books so that I'll have them for book signings and things like that. And either sell them or give them away depending on the situation. But I might have I'll have a book in my hand by the time we do the book launch, and so I'll be able to tell you all about it. I'll take a picture and send you. It's pretty exciting.
Cool, because they're going to be on our show, aren't they? Or
yes, the publisher will be on the show on December 5th when we do the launch, and we'll give away some books to people. So I'll send you the codes for Kindle. I'm not mailing you books. I'm not getting into that. I already do that for a client. I'm not going to do it for me.
Oh, that's all right.
Not into that.
Yeah, don't use our postal service.
For it.
If you use FedEx, I'll just send you complaint notes until you finally get it. But yeah. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you. It's going along. I'm very excited. We're getting there, and you'll get. I'm going to send out the announcements and the messages as soon as I get the links, so that I can send people the links to get the books.
Well, someone on Twitter posted up that a good method for a book launch is to run some sort of door prize, and then that way you get everybody's email address.
Yeah.
And I said, right, what? So you can spam them. And then
no, that way, I can send them when Future Gold comes out. I can send them a notice and say, hey, you were here for the Future Girls launch. Here's the second in the series. I mean, targeted. I wouldn't just spam people, but I would definitely target that and say, hey, you loved this. Here's the next book.
Well, his quick response, which I thought was quite a good one, was it's not It's not spamming if it's friends and family.
Well, I don't know. I've got friends and family who are like, don't talk to me anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel a bit strange. I went to a book launch and they're like, can we have your email address? Why? So that's all.
Yeah, well, I would just tell him. He says, so I can get a hold of you when the next book comes out. Well, that's easy.
I'd just give you spam@newbiewriters.com. That'll work.
You have a bad attitude.
Yes, I do. Do not reply at newbiewriters.com. Anyway, so the other thing we're going to talk about, because, yes, we did have a guest, but what's this? We've talked about travel stuff before and travel journals before. You're looking at doing something like this, like creating a how-to sort of book. Is that right?
No, it's partially how-to, but I want to create my goal is to create the perfect travel journal, because I have collected, I think, all of them. and I've used all the ones that are available. And these are hard copy, by the way. And nothing has met my criteria. So I thought, all right, I'm going to ask people who travel, I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to come up with the perfect travel journal and get feedback. This will be a long-term project probably, but get feedback from people and say, what do you use? What would be perfect for you? And then go from there and create and then produce, maybe eventually, the perfect travel journal.
Don't get me to include. I hate travel. Oh.
Well, you just don't like to do it with a 5-year-old.
Or in general.
In general. I love to travel. Oh my God, I'm all over that.
I'm trying to organise going away for work not next week, the week after, to some very rural country places. And I don't know, there's such a big divide between city and country. So when you ring them, you don't get, hi, it's Stephen speaking, or welcome to the Motor Inn, blah, blah, blah. You get, hello. You go, excuse me? Yeah, hello. Yeah. Is this the Motor Inn at such and such? Yeah, mate. What can I do for you? Well, I'd like to book a couple of rooms. Sure, mate. How much? How many people? Like, oh my God. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be part of the charm?
Yeah, right. Find like a dead kangaroo in the bed next to me.
The dead kangaroo head.
Yeah, and I was trying to organise some tradesmen up there too, and it was the same deal. So you ring them in. Yeah. Sorry, is this Adrian?
Right.
Yeah, mate. So, well, I'd like to book you to do some work. Yeah, I'll probably be there. Well, I can't have probably. I need someone there at like 7 o'clock. Yeah. Well, I might rock up the day before just to have a look at it. Well, okay, you can do whatever you like, my friend, but as long as you're there. How much do you charge? I don't know. A couple of $100. Right. Yeah.
Oh,
travel.
Oh my gosh. You have yes. I don't have that. We don't have that much at least in California. One of the reasons that it's kind of nice to go up to this, this little town, Nevada City, is that people have come from the Bay Area. They've come from the city. And so they are wired in, dialed in. We're good. They're very sophisticated, and they just have the contrast between the sophisticated technology against living in a more rural place. And so they've sort of dropped the very small town, attitude. But I think that do you think that that's partially attitude? Like, if a tourist calls up and gets this move, that's part of the experience that they're promoting, so to speak?
I'm not sure, because I said to one of them, one trade that I was trying to organise, an electrician, I said, can I send you the drawings for this job we're doing? And he goes, well, I don't have an email.
Oh my God.
Right. But you've got a phone. Can't you get email on the phone? Nah, man. I don't have internet on it. Oh, well, how do you get your job sheets come through? No, I don't use them, mate. Like, great. Well, how can I send this to you? Because we could try posting it.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, look, if I get up there and I have to be forced to squeal like a pig, I'm done. But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, how funny.
Playing banjos.
Yes. Yes.
It's like that.
So you had a good prompt. Do you want to do a prompt?
Yeah, we can do a prompt. Unless there was anything else you wanted to talk about creating the perfect travel journal.
No, I'm just going to throw it out there. So one of the things that I was thinking of is what are the pieces, or what do you do when you travel? If you journal when you travel, what do where do you put your material? Where do you put the postcards you collect? Where do you put the business cards from the really cool restaurant you went to? How do you manage all of that? All that material, do you put it in a book? Do you throw it in a box? Because I like to have them in notebooks so that I can find it later. So I'm going to put it out there, and we'll just keep revisiting, and maybe people will. I would love to have people weigh in on that.
Yeah. So just tell me
and
this
let's
quickly.
create something together.
If you go away, and you're in your hotel room, and if Andrew's anything like me, he's probably having a nap, and
Yep.
you're sitting there. Do you then open up a notebook and start going, day 1, Istanbul, crap flight? Like, is that what you sort of note down? And then go,
Yes,
hotel
actually,
room uncomfortable.
all my journals, I look at this too. It's like you open up the journals, and it's like it is Istanbul, day 1, crap flight. I rarely do I write something like wonderful flight. The service was fabulous. I don't do that very often.
Food was amazing.
That's a way of warming up. One of the things about a journal that I love for a travel journal, it's just for me. This is not going to be a novel. This is not going to be for anybody else to read. So that I can just write all these cool random things. I can be super cranky. Helps to be cranky on the journal, not at the people I'm traveling with. So that's been a really good feature. And then I also try not to say, okay, I have to do this in order, or I have to write every day. What I do is I have spaces. So I give about 4 or 5 pages per day. And if I miss a couple days and then I go into to day 5, I write in that day 5 section. So in case I want to go back, I can.
Yeah.
And I also want to be able to put things in. So like I will put you put the luggage tag, stick it in the book, tape it down, and then write a note about it. That can be just as effective as a lengthy narrative.
But what if you don't get around to doing that? Or do you deliberately make time to do it? I mean, has there ever been a case where you've got back and you thought, you know what, I should have written some of that stuff down?
I am habitual about it, so that I do write things down, even if it's pretty note-like. And that's what I recommend for people. It's like, just get tape, get a glue stick, tape down wherever you were, the brochure, the map from the museum. Take that into the notebook, make a note on it, said we loved this wing, hated that wing, didn't make it to this one. And then when you're talking to somebody, or if you're trying to organize your photographs, this is why I recommend it. You can say, oh, what was that picture of? And your cameras will give you the date.
Yeah.
So then you go back to your notebook and say, oh, that was Hamburg, because Hamburg looks like Bamberg, which looks like Nuremberg, which looks like every other burg. And you're like, okay, that had the tower. That's not going to help you.
Huh. Well,
the tower and the church are not going to be really good keys.
No, I know what mine would be called if I did a travel journal. It'd be called the Vitriol Vacation.
Yeah. And it could be. Wouldn't it be better to get it all out instead of inflicting it on Sharon? That's what I do. Is I bitch in the journal. If I'm cranky, there's always a point in a 2-week trip about the middle of week 1, towards week 2, where you're just cranky.
Yeah.
I just have these cranky moments, and so I write it in the journal, and so I don't, spread the joy and the love to my travel partners.
Yeah. I don't know. I could try it if I go away for this week, but at the end of the day, it's work. So it's not going to really be any different than any other day, other than we would have driven for 5 hours on the way to the first one.
Yeah. The working thing, I don't really, I was in San Diego and I made some notes in my regular journal, but I didn't do a quote special journal. It was 2 days. It wasn't great. But I made a journal for Amsterdam, and I made, when I was in Italy, I made a journal, and it helps because then somebody else in the group will say, what was that restaurant that we went to that was really great? And I remembered to pick up a card so I could look it up.
Right, but then doesn't that make you look like a nerd? Be like, hang on, let me get my little notebook. Flip, flip, flip. Well, we went to the Sausage Fest place. whatever.
Right. Actually, I don't get that. I get people who look at what I'm doing, and I do it when I'm bored too. So I mean, if I'm sitting in a bus, if I'm waiting for something, if I'm waiting for a film to start, I make notes in the notebook. That's easy. That I'm a restless person. I like to make lots of notes, and I'll have people look at what I'm doing and say, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool! How on earth do you manage to do that?" Well, it's habit, and it's rewarding. I mean, I'm gonna want those later on when I'm old and gray and can't go anyplace anymore.
The final one will be divorce. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, we can do a prompt.
You can do a prompt. You came up with a really good prompt.
Yes. And I'll explain the prompt in a minute. But this one is, write about what you would do if you heard someone calling for help in a busy place. Would you drop everything and help them? Or would you turn around and pretend you cannot hear the person screaming? How would it change your day? So come up with something. Why are they screaming for help? So this happened to me.
So you're going to give me some background on this.
This happened to myself and my contractor yesterday. So we were doing a fit out for a pharmacy in a shopping centre, and the pharmacy had rented out a shop down, 5 or 6 shops down, and it was just full of all their boxes, all their stock, and all of our gear. So screens, brackets, all that sort of stuff on a large pallet. But they didn't really think. Now, I think actually they forgot that we were coming in yesterday, because all of our stuff was right up the back with just a wall of boxes in front. We opened the sliding door and oh crap. So we've moved a couple, and then we've both climbed over this wall of boxes. So if anyone walked past, all they'd see is like 2 heads in a little gap. Hello. Well, we're trying to stock take, make sure we've got everything. And just as we've got sort of back there and we're going, right, we've got 3 screens, we hear someone, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 meters away, start yelling out, "Help me. Can someone please help me?" And it was just getting louder and louder. They sound a little bit of a nutcase. You get that sort of sound.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
But going full on. And I looked at my contractor like, well, we need to get out of here now to try and find out what's going on, if that person needs help or whatever. And there are a lot of people in the shopping centre. It's quite busy. So we sort of put down what we're doing, climbed back over, we poked both our heads out the sliding door, and we couldn't see anyone. We couldn't see anyone running down to sort of help this person or whatever. And we're like, oh, okay. No idea what that was about. Well, anyway, there's a lot of people out here. And so we went back to doing what we're doing. But it dogged me for the next hour or two. I started to think, what if we did get out there and there was someone screaming for help, and there's all these other people around? We seem to be like the only ones willing to rush out and try and help someone.
Right.
How would that affect your day if you were walking past? And we saw this again later on. We were driving out because we were in the city centre, and we pulled up to some lights. And behind like a building, we saw just a pair of legs just lying on the ground, sticking out.
Oh.
And we're stuck in traffic, and Darren, my contractor's gone, do you think that person's sleeping? I was like, well, I don't know. But there was a guy on a mobile phone and someone else texting, standing right next to these legs just sticking out. But they were waiting for the bus. Like they weren't even, it was like that.
They weren't even looking at the legs or anything.
And they were sticking out a weird angle. I'm thinking and that's, again, I was reminded about it going, if that person on the phone there stopped and looked down and went, oh, I don't think that person's very well, would you stop to help? Or would you think, oh, I'm about to get on a bus, it's not my problem, there's other people around?
Yeah.
Because we'd all like to think...
Good question.
Yeah, we'd all like to think that we'd be that hero diving in there. But I think on the whole, it'd be, not my problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to talk about. And what if, in a fiction world, what would that change? So if you're still, if you're in the middle of Nano and you don't know what to do, what if, what if you did help somebody? How would that change the whole course of the novel? How could that change the whole course of somebody's life?
Yeah, and that's why I thought it'd make a good prompt, because if you are in that, or if you're in any book and you're thinking, I'm in the middle doldrums, right, where you're not sure your story hasn't finished, but you need to add something to it. And like I was making that joke last week about, if you had two people on a park bench being romantic, then all of a sudden they see another character pop in like, oh, g'day, Jeff. You could apply this. They could be in a park and you're thinking, the story's about to wrap up. Why not have someone scream out, help me, please help me. And you can deviate then for 10 pages and then find out where that takes them.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, very good. I like it.
Well, what was that? You're just screwing up the notes. That's it. Let's do a tortured sentence. Next time, don't put the wrong emphasis on the right syllable. Tortured sentences. That was actually the person. I was selfish and recorded them. No. I did find it strange, though. We went back to the pharmacy where we were working. About an hour later, I saw 3 policemen rock up, so who knows? Which then again, your imagination starts to run wild and go, okay, well, what was going on? Maybe he just had a mental flip out at a store person or something.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, and then do you get involved? Like, it might be well and good someone yelling out, help me, but they might actually be a nutcase with a knife.
Right.
So this tortured sentence came. I love these. You're pulling these out of like massive publications. This came from the New York Times, by the looks.
Yes, and it's one of those. It's one of those great. The New Yorker calls it "block that metaphor," but this is a quote from the New York Times, and it says, "This is the first time there has been institutional support," said Martin Levinson, the director of the drug prevention program in District 30 in Queens. "For the morale of the drug workers, it's a shot in the arm."
Oh, don't say that.
All right then.
You get like your 15 minutes of fame, and that's just not it.
No, I just like that. So I thought, all right, you have to be careful about your metaphors.
We give drugs to our drug workers to keep them happy.
That's right. It's a shot in the arm. Love it.
Yeah. And I don't know if the claim that this is the first time there's been institutional support is really true. Maybe it's different for you guys, but our governments apparently support lots of institutions like pubs and clubs. No, and poker machines. All right. Should we stop typing? Should we do a word of the day, a word of the week?
We do word of the week.
All right.
I'll send it over to you.
Oh, God. So this came from A Word a Day, written by Anu Garg, and it is Leitmotif.
Leitmotif.
Leitmotif. Leitmotif. Sounds funny.
Leitmotif.
You arrogant pig. Meaning, a recurrent theme in a piece of music or literature. Also known as repetition, I'd say. Anyway.
Yep. It's much more. It's more was a classy version of repetition.
Wouldn't be applied to pop songs, that's for sure.
No, probably not.
All right. So yes, now shout outs. What's going on?
I'm just, Eternal Press, because we're on it. We are going to we're going to get my book out in the next 2 weeks, and I'm pretty excited. So, Future Girls at Eternal Press.
And you've got Thanksgiving coming up?
I have Thanksgiving coming up, so I'm having. I should shout out my sister-in-law who's having the bulk of people for Thanksgiving, and I have Christmas, and it's going to be very, very. It's going to be a much smaller group. So, yay!
Yeah. Well, I kind of have Thanksgiving here. It's going to be our, I'm going to get in trouble for this, 6th wedding anniversary on the 29th.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I don't know what we can do for that. Smile at each other. Something
nice. Give her at least a card to acknowledge it, right?
Of course. To be the credit card. Isn't that how it works? Anyway. What are you typing? What before we wrap this show up, I can hear every keystroke. What are you typing?
You can. How can you hear this? I have the computer's like underneath you should not be able to hear it. I can barely hear it.
Right. Well, I have such a good system.
You have such a brilliant system.
Luckily, you don't burp or fart on air because that would just
No,
make our
I
ratings
really try to hold
plummet.
back on that.
Oh, look, I will.
Just saying.
All right. Well, until a fortnight's time.
Yes.
See you then.
Your book starts here on the Newbie Writers Podcast.